This is Business Therapy, healing businesses from the inside out and addressing the human side of business. I'm Diane Hansen, management consultant, and with me I have Christine Salvo, therapist, certified mediator, and certified hypnotist.
Hello.
This morning, I want to talk to all of you dreamers out there. Those dreamers who are thinking maybe they just have the next $1 million Shark Tank worthy idea. Or maybe you just want to work for yourself and be a solopreneur and dog sit or do whatever you want to make money. But here's the big question. When is it a business and not a passionate hobby?
Ooh, I like that.
So the line between business and passionate hobby is the green stuff, money. Are you making it? Are you making it consistently? Are you able to, either with your business or business supplements, able to support yourself? So how do you decide when it's time to take that great idea of yours and make the big leap? Wow, Christine, I can really identify with this topic.
Me too.
I can
Me too.
really identify with this topic because I've absolutely been there. I've been to the point where I've been employed full-time. I've been employed full-time and laid off. I've been employed full-time, laid off 4 months into my master's program. And it has always, for me, business has come down to, I got to do something to survive now.
Yeah. So before I graduated college, I was in retail. I don't know if you know that about me.
No.
So I worked in retail for quite a few years, 7, 8 years. And I was in retail management. And I will say during that time, 3 businesses went out on me.
Wow.
Yeah. And one of them, like you said, a similar experience. I had left a pretty good corporate job, full-time, great benefits, company car, whole deal. And, the package, the financial package was worth it. And within about 5 months, I was unemployed.
Ooh, that is really, really rough. I refer to being an entrepreneur as riding the entrepreneurial roller coaster. I personally love roller coasters. I think they're super fun. Put me on a roller coaster for a few years and I'm a bit dizzy.
Yeah. The roller coaster's, it's a fun ride, but at some point, you just kind of want the lazy river.
Exactly. And that's really when you get your business dialed in, it becomes a little bit more like a lazy river, but every once in a while they drop a roller coaster in the middle of it.
Yes.
So how do you know you have the right stuff to try this entrepreneurial thing? Well, before we go into the actual elements of, okay, you're ready to be an entrepreneur, I want to remove a little bit of guilt and a little bit of installed shame that society puts on entrepreneurs these days.
Or employees. It can actually go both ways.
Yeah, or employees. It's this feeling of not doing enough.
Yeah.
I have to scale. I have to grow. I have to try the latest system. I have to be this big thought leader. I have to have the biggest Instagram following. I have to.
Don't forget all the things, the shiny and the new and the nice and the big.
Yep. Exactly. I've got to have the things because if I have a business, now I have to entertain my clients. So obviously I have to take my clients out to nice places to eat and I have to do this. And what happens with that mentality, one, forgive yourself for being where you are here and now and today in your idea. If you're listening and you just have an idea, if you're listening and you already have a business, if you're listening and you're just, thinking about where you stand in your career, be okay with where your 2 feet are planted right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And businesses that are started from a deep, almost resentful dissatisfaction start from this place of, yes, high passion, but sometimes low profitability
Mhm.
because it's not about survival. It's literally about that emotional charge behind what you're doing. It's that I'll show them energy.
So for myself, when I transitioned, even in my career field now, I was a full-time employee, or a couple different agencies for years. And when I transitioned into contract work and now I have an LLC, my thing wasn't necessarily financial, it was freedom. I like to take about 5 weeks of vacation a year, which is not average for a new employee, number one. And, it's a cultural thing in the United States. I know there's other places that it's really normal to have 5 weeks of vacation, no matter where you start. But here, I found myself not wanting to like work for the weekends and
Mhm.
also having this you get 5 days off in 6 months and you can have 5 days off in another 6 months. And if you want anything more than that, no.
Yeah, that's really tough, and that's a big reason why people start their own businesses. But understanding what goes into having a business versus having a hobby, and it's a completely different thing. You know, you might get a lot of energy from your hobby, but your hobby doesn't support you. Your hobby doesn't keep food on the table and keep you in your clothes and pay the rent or mortgage. So there is a clear divide there. And one of the clearest divides in business that always tell my clients is you are not your business. And why I say that is because of this heaviness that comes around the lack of separation. When the business is bad, I'm doing bad.
And the stress, come on, let's be real.
Yeah,
The
and
lack
this
of sleep, the bloodshot eyes, the whole thing.
exactly, exactly. So, understanding that a business comes with its own set of commitments and challenges separate from any job you might have or anything like that. It almost is like giving birth to a baby
Or a marriage,
or a
right?
marriage.
And anything that you have a long-term commitment with, it's comes with rules.
Yep, exactly, exactly. So understanding that there's a commitment that is involved in having that business, but also understanding that businesses have business models. And there are different kinds of business models, and there's some that you can just pick up kind of out of the box. You know, there's a business model for, multi-level marketing type business model where you can buy in and become a coach of this or that and do this or that and build a business for yourself off of it. It does not mean that you own that company. It means that you basically can share in and basically become a salesperson or some form of leader in that business driven by yourself. Then there's the franchise model. The franchise model is a bit deeper in that they check your financials, you buy into the franchise model, you have to follow a very strict manual of operations, and you are adhering to somebody else's brand standards. And then there's your way and your model. So I was checking out Harvard Business Review, an article called What is a Business Model? And if you can't think of a new business model, try adapting one of these basic forms. Affinity clubs. Affinity clubs pay royalties to some large organization for the right to sell your product exclusively to their customers. So you can basically buy in to an affinity club, and this affinity club is going to sell your products and services to their members. So that's one way. A good example is that if you buy into box subscriptions, and those box subscriptions already have subscribers, but your whole business model is to provide products to people who already have the boxes and already have the affinity built in, and that's how you distribute your product and build loyalty for your product. It's a great starting business model, then you can grow that business model into something else. So there's a lot of different ways. You might notice if you play a game on your phone. You can download that for free. You can download it for free, but then there's something called in-app purchases. So you download it for free. That's called the freemium model, because the premium part of it is that if you want to get past level 200, you're going to start buying boosts. You're going to start buying these little false things. I admit it. I bought my first digital toy thing, and it was crazy. It was like this little mini pop decorating, like build the whole set, as roll your slots so many times, make so much money, and you can create this little house, and I'm like, oh, I can finish it, and I was buying more spins, and then I woke up the next morning, I'm like, wow. I just had a real teenagery moment there. But that is a business for that app developer.
Absolutely. And don't we pay for experiences? It doesn't really matter what your investment is in. We pay for experiences.
Exactly. We pay for experiences. So the first thing to ask yourself is, who wants what I have? So is there a market for what I have? And I encourage people to, before you spend a red cent on a business, go out and do some research and have some conversations. Because if you go out and you do some research and you have some conversations about willingness to buy, are you going to be able to, trigger that, gotta have it? What is your value proposition behind your product? Because once you realize you have a customer, once you realize then that customer has a clear value proposition, meaning they have a reason for buying your product or service, they have a clear need, there is a pain, or there is an affinity that you are bringing to them, then you are on your way to doing business.
Mm-hmm.
So the next piece of that, of course, is, are they willing to give up the green, right?
Well, and service too, right? Because it's not always a product. Sometimes it's a service.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I said, service. So your product or service, they have to be willing to actually give consideration for this. So if your idea is, well, I help people all the time, and I really think that I would be a great coach. Well, fantastic. Let's drill down on that. What are you coaching? What is the value behind your coaching? What is the experience that you have to bring to the table that's going to bring value to the client? How much is the client willing to pay to have your program, your time, your experience in service to them? So you weigh out these elements as part of a profitable business model. And then you want to look, and especially the entrepreneur's biggest cost is themselves, keeping themselves afloat. But beyond that, any sort of production cost, software cost, any type of cost associated with the business. Once you start a business, you need to get a state business license. You need to get your DBA and your city registration. If you're trading, if you're doing transactions, you're going to have PayPal or Stripe fees if you use that, or authorize.net. So really understand the business behind it, because an idea is just an idea until you start making money from it.
And it's all going to be an investment, and learning curves, as you said. So I loved how you started with, forgive yourself and be gentle with yourself. And it's okay if you are where you are, but what is the next level for you? And maybe the next level isn't specifically financial this year. Maybe it's learning your accounting. When you're a business owner, there's so much to it. Whether you like it or not, you become versed in so many things that you didn't think you would need to know. And all of a sudden, just you rattled off just a few things here, but it's so much more than you anticipate most times. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Things come definitely out of left field, and especially as you bring on clients. One myth I like to dispel from people who are employed, who are thinking about starting a business, is I want to be my own boss. So you're not your own boss. You have as many bosses as you do clients.
Yep.
And every single client has different needs and different expectations and different timelines. And now you can group your customers into customer segments, and you can create processes to serve certain customer segments to make it easier. You can hire people. But let's bring it to where you're at. Your customer segments, your customer at that point is your business's reason for being. And that profitability piece comes when you are delivering more value than the money that they give you. And when you create flow in that, that's when you create cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So you might find yourself working more than you expected.
Typically, that's what I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared the nights and the weekends and all the things. And you had mentioned, you have as many bosses as you do clients. And I would like to add too that when you are your own boss, right, with, our little fingers up, the idea though is that can you self-regulate your own time? Because it's so easy as we're talking about self-employment that you may put in 30 hours where if you were an employee, they're paying you.
Yep.
And you may have mischarged, you may have miscalculated, you may have procrastinated, and no one's coming to save you at that point. So all of a sudden you may think you're charging, $30, $40, $50 an hour, but when you really look back and calculate, because it took you 3 times longer, and it could be because you started watching a TV show you didn't want to stop, or
Right.
stayed up too late, or did some things, you may be looking at $7, $8 an hour now, and that's nobody's fault but your own.
And it's, if you start reframing the way you think about how you do business and not serving time, but having productive time, having the business time that either brings you energy or brings you money, which really energy and money are one and the same. So if you're focusing toward that, and really being mindful of the time that you spend in work mode, and make sure, right, you're actually working, you're managing your time well, that's directly linked to those dollars, because there's a lot you can do to work on your business. There's a lot of education you can take in to learn more about your business, to learn more about customers, to learn more about systems. I call this the learning loop. And when you get stuck in the learning loop, sometimes it's a little addictive. And you go from video to podcast to worksheet to workbook to 12-week program to personal coaching. And have you done a lick of business? No. That is not business. Business is very simply when someone gives you their money for your product or service. If we really want to boil it down.
Right, totally.
If we really want to make it super, super simple. So,
and as you said, the learning loop can be a valuable place when you're trying to make that transition. So let's say you're still full-time employed, you haven't quite made that leap. Do the learning loop then. Like start knocking stuff out,
Yep.
Make the plans, set the goals, make the vision board, do all the things in preparation, because once it's time to go, once it's green light go,
it's go time.
You want to be ready and you want to have all the, like you said, the letters behind your name. You want to have the credentials. You want to say, I started this coaching program a year ago and I've coached, 7 people and these are their success stories and I'd like you to be number 8. But coming out cold and expecting, and I see this all the time with people, the mismatch of expectations. Well, I paid $5,000 for a coaching certificate and nobody wants to pay me $10,000 for my time.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's a mismatched expectation. What are your results? What's the product? Just as you said.
Exactly.
So just because I did the learning doesn't mean I even know how to apply it. Doesn't even know I'm good at it. I don't even know if I'm good at it. So we also have a process of building our own confidence in this. I'm not going to want it unless you can convince me that I do.
Exactly. And there's a free tool. It's called Canvanizer. It's at Canvanizer, Anizer.com. And this free tool tells you exactly what you need to do to get that 30,000 foot view of a potential business. And it tells you, your customer segmentation, your channels, your value propositions, how you're going to make money with this business. It gives you that big overview so that when you start, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and you said something earlier I wanted to jump in on too when you're like ask people questions. So I don't know about you, but in my life, there's sometimes been some critics out there. And we usually see the critic as like the negative Nelly. Like, you tell them the idea and they go, oh, well, that will never work. And here's the reasons why. And I personally used to be like, oh, that's your limitation, not mine. And now I go, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more.
Mhm.
Because I'm so excited about this that my blinders are up and I have a tunnel view of what I want and how I'm going to get it. And in my mind, I will achieve that. And I'm a high achiever. Of course I will. But you know what? There's other people that can tell you about the landmines on the way, and I don't believe I have to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah. And at the crossroads of passion and profit is data.
Yeah, that's right.
Data.
Yeah.
The more data that you can collect from your potential customers, from your competition, from your vendors, to understand what is this sandbox you're actually playing in. Understand the sandbox before you jump in and play with the snot-nosed kid.
I would take notes, honestly. I would
Right.
separate myself from the business and take notes.
Yes.
Those are really great points. Who knows if they're ever going to happen, but if you thought of it and I didn't, clearly it was in my blind spot.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And when we make ourselves about our pet projects and try to jam them into a business model, sometimes that can trigger all sorts of debt to make it happen,
Yeah.
anxiety that you didn't make it happen. I am personally guilty of beating myself up that my this, that, or the other didn't fit into my consulting firm. Like, I want to do this, but it doesn't fit. And so I started to jam it in, and, it becomes like, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't fit, and you get splinters.
And don't you think like it's time? It's
Yeah.
gonna take time. If this is what you really want, hang in there. Have a
Yeah.
backup plan. You may have to do other things to compensate here and there, and that's
Yes.
okay too. And trying again that expectation thing. Check your own expectations, but also check others too, because we're all just kind of living life. We're all making our way out here, and it's not a linear line. There's no line to success.
Absolutely. I know plenty of people who have started their enterprises and have driven rideshare. They've waited tables, they've delivered food, they've done kind of what it takes to survive, including and having the full-time job until it's time to transition over. So if you believe, persevere.
Absolutely. And your dream's worth it. Whatever we all have in us, we're meant to share. I truly believe that. But it's not always the way you think it is. Sometimes your sharing isn't going to make money for you. Maybe
Right.
your college degree and the thing that you're just really darn good at is what's going to make you money. And maybe that dream is the thing you share for free because it feels good.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's where society says, oh, if you love what you do, you don't have to work a day in your life.
But see, I don't have a problem with work. I enjoy it. I
Exactly.
love the satisfaction of a good hard day's work, of knowing I spent my time contributing to society and making a profit for my family. I love it. I believe we're here to work. We're like ants, everybody has a purpose. There's some way we're all supposed to contribute.
Yeah, there's no reason why your work doesn't have to be joyful. However, if your dream doesn't fit into a business model, don't be so hard on yourself
I
that you
love
can't
that.
turn it into a business.
Sure.
It's okay to give it away if you're being fueled, your bank account is being fueled by something else.
And you said earlier, energy and money are the same thing.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing. So I hope we gave you a lot to think about this morning. It's one of those, I think American dream questions. I think a
Yeah.
lot of us have that. Should I work for myself? Will this idea be the one and all of that? And all I want to say is dream on, but understand that the crossroads between passion and profit is data. So don't go in blind.
Love it. Perfect.
You've been listening to Business Therapy with Diane Hansen and Christine Salvo. Have a great morning.
Have a great day.